My immigration experience has been quite a fortunate one, really. I came to LA in 1995 to work for Hans Zimmer, who was quite the big cheese at that point, had just won an Oscar for his score for The Lion King. And I guess he sponsored me as his little assistant boy. And I started in a very humble and lowly position. And quickly got a visa and then a green card, which I still have. And well, look, I still feel quite British on one hand, but on the other hand, you know, I've got an American wife, I've got American children, I've got 4 of them, and I'm the only Brit in the family, so I'm surrounded by Yankees. Right. Well, probably my biggest musical influence was my family. So I was doing music. By the time I was 6 or 7, I could probably read music better than I could read English. I have 4 brothers and sisters, and that's what we used to do with our free time as we were growing up, would be to interact musically. We all played lots of instruments, multi-instruments. My parents both musical. So music was something I'd done all my life, and all through school I was a music scholar. I was never going to do anything else other than music, really. I did a lot of teaching of music. I taught in Egypt for a while. And it was a chance meeting with Hans Zimmer in London in about 1994, where I had he was recording the score for the film Crimson Tide, and he needed someone who knew about choirs in order to he wanted a certain choral effect in this movie, which is a movie about a Russian sub. So he wanted big sort of bearded, sandaled men singing very low on his soundtrack, and he wasn't quite sure how to achieve that. And someone said, look, Harry over there knows about choirs, but he doesn't really know anything about film music. I think you two get along really well. And we were introduced, and we got on fabulously. And he really inspired me to take it to the next step and try and be a film composer myself. It was a long process. Andrew's not a director who likes to let go very quickly. He'll grab a hold of you and not let go. But we have quite a history together, Andrew and I. We did the Shrek movies, and we've done a couple of Narnia movies together, so we know who we're dealing with in each other. He asked me to do Mr. Pip as soon as he knew he was going to do it, and he asked me if I would co-compose the music with a New Zealand singer-songwriter-composer named Tim Finn. And I had met Tim, actually. He had done one of the songs for The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, which was the first Narnia that Andrew and I did. So I had already met him and liked the guy. And Andrew had specific reasons for needing to employ a New Zealand passport-holding composer, which I'm not. But he wanted me to be a part of it too. So it was actually a co-composition, which was an interesting place for us to be. You know, I'm coming from film music, and Tim is definitely coming from the pop world or the rock world. So Tim actually got the peachy bit of the job. Actually, when they were shooting the film on this beautiful island, Bougainville, he got to go there because I guess it's not that far from New Zealand. It's a long way from LA, and he got to sample some of the sounds and flavors that he heard on that island. And he shared those with me, and those have been integrated into the score. I did all my scoring from my studio in LA. Andrew visited a couple of times from his edit room. I visited him in Auckland. And I'd say it was a really rewarding journey that we went on. A journey that's led us here to Hawaii. Who would have known that? Everything that a film composer does is dictated by the film. So, for instance, the way that I work is I have a studio and I have the film running on a big screen in front of me. I have my piano that I'll play away at, but everything that a film composer does is to bring something to the movie. And you know, we have to serve the movie first. And then after that, if the music can exist other than that, like on a soundtrack or in a concert hall performance, that's great, but that's not how it was hatched. That wasn't the original idea. Composing the music for movies like the Shrek series, that was a sort of 10-year span. Chicken Run, Ants. It's not so different to writing the music for any of the more serious dramas that I've done. For instance, Ben Affleck's 2 films, Gone Baby Gone or The Town, or any of the films I've done for Ridley Scott or Tony Scott. You know, as a film composer, you're trying to find an emotional arc that you can tap into musically. And whether that's with chickens or ants or green ogres, you know, if there's feeling there's emotion, then you need to pick up on it in the music. And whether it's live action or animated or a children's movie or a seriously grown-up movie, it doesn't really make any difference. That's really the composer's job, is to try and bring another dimension to what you're seeing on the screen. I think in very basic terms, you know, a film composer who brings a happy piece of music to a happy scene isn't really bringing very much to the party. We're trying to look for a juxtaposition. We're trying to look for a different focus so as to almost another character in the scene, so as to bring something, a depth that's not there already. Yeah, I've composed the music for a couple of video games, mainly a series called the Metal Gear Solid series, which probably sounds very weird if you don't know anything about the gaming world, which, by the way, I don't really. However, I was asked to do this series, and over the course of about 8 years, I've done 3 of these games, and to begin with, it was quite a primitive process. I think I was one of the first Hollywood film composers to do the music for a game. And that was what the director of the game really wanted, his game to sound like it was a Hollywood movie, an action movie. And that's why he came to me. But to begin with, it was quite primitive. Because it's not a film, he wasn't able to send me the film. And that's my normal working process, would be to start with, hello, the film. So if ever I'm stuck with my work, I've got to look up at the screen and learn something and bounce off that. But with a video game, they weren't able to give me footage per se. So more than that, when I first started doing video games, I would be sent little descriptions, adjectives, by the director, you know, sneaky, thrilling, nerve-wracking, something like that. And I'd have to write 30 seconds or a minute of music in that vein, but without any guidance from pictures. So it was kind of difficult for me and different. But I liked it. And actually, as things have progressed, more and more film composers have become involved in making music for games. I think the game makers themselves have developed better methods of getting the best out of us. So they'll send us, for instance, what's known as cut scenes. So they're actual scenes that, however you play the game, do happen. They know they're going to happen like that. Doesn't matter whether you're very good at playing the game or very bad. There are various cutscenes that are going to happen. So they're like a scene in a movie. So that they're presented as that, and those could be sent to the composer, and he can compose the music very much like he would to a film in that case. But there's you know, at the end of the day, one's just making music, so it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, no, I've been involved with the Sundance Institute on and off for 10 years probably. I think it's a really worthwhile thing. Basically what it is 4 or 5 composers from all over the world are selected from hundreds, if not thousands of applicants, to come to the site in Utah, where they're set up with a little studio, and mentors from LA, from the film community, like myself, spend a few days or a week with these students, trying to relay and relate to as much as possible for them, and help them find their way.